Hello, welcome into WLOY, Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. You're listening to After the Whistle, Loyola's premier sports talk radio show, airing every Monday from 3 to 4 p.m. and every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. Welcome into our Friday edition of the show this week. I am your co-host, Jeffrey Bozzi, alongside my co-host, Jimmy Cody. Jimmy, how is your Friday going so far?
So far it's all right. I've had better Fridays to start off with. Unfortunately, I lost my debit card and I also spilled some stuff all over my bed and got a little sick last night because I just didn't really feel so well. But it's a new day. It's a new day to make things happen, and hopefully today's a better day. That's all we can do. The start wasn't great, but it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a good day because it's Friday.
Yeah.
Fridays are good days usually, and people are happy. So, you know what? Let's have a good day, Jimmy. And we're going to start with the show here. So, yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to bounce around a lot today, but we're going to start with the Loyola lacrosse teams. And both the men's and the women's team have huge games this weekend. You have the men's team coming off their upset win against number one ranked Maryland. They will be home tomorrow at 12 p.m. at Ridley Athletic Complex. They will be taking on their arch rival, I should say our arch rival, the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays, who are ranked number 6 in the poll. And Loyola, FYI, is number 11 in the poll. And then you have on the women's side, the Loyola women's lacrosse team. They will open their season tomorrow at 3 p.m. They host the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays as well. So it's a doubleheader, a lot of lacrosse happening tomorrow at Ridley Athletic Complex. But Jimmy, we were both at the men's game last week, and we saw them pull off an absolute shocker against Maryland. So I guess I'll ask you, what did you like the most in that game? What do you think they need to do to carry the momentum going into tomorrow's showdown with Hopkins?
Well, I'll say this. We shot very efficiently on offense. We had a lot of those outside shots that found their way into the net. And, it's fair to ask after one game, is that luck? Is that just kind of great shooting? Is that just a great solo performance? Or is that the offense that we have? I hope it's the offense that we have because, we could put up points at will like we did. Especially at the beginning of that fourth quarter. That run we went on was amazing. The stadium was absolutely going crazy for the Hounds. And you combine that with the way that our goalie and our defense played, and and that could be a pretty special team. Obviously, you saw the way that we played against Maryland. They're no group of slouches, especially based on what you said before, Jeffrey, how they haven't lost since the 2021 national championship. So certainly they're a powerhouse. And the thing I want to see the most out of our team is not offense, it's not defense. Obviously, the faceoffs can be a little better. We could get more ground balls. Those are all things. But it's the energy. When we played with energy and passion, that was when we played the best. Because on defense, we're flying around. I felt like we had Maryland so out of their game just because we were flying around on defense. It felt like the energy just flowed from Luke Stout's great saves. It just seemed like once he made a great save, the rest of the defense was just digging in their heels and going even harder after those plays. And like I said, Jeffrey, it's the energy. That's the thing that I think is most important for this team.
I 100% agree. I think the defense was obviously the key catalyst to the victory on Saturday against Maryland. And I think it was good because the offense kind of played into the defense, because when the defense would get stops, they try to get out and run a little bit. And even when they go, I don't know, at a slower tempo, they would really find open shots. Like you said, the shots from the outside were falling. And it's funny because I felt like coming into the game, I don't know, it would be tough to get inside. So you think, oh, we're going to have to make some shots from the outside. And that's exactly what we did. I mean, we had a lot of low shots, a lot of bounce shots. And sometimes those are really hard shots to save as a goalie in lacrosse. But yeah, I think going into tomorrow, you got to, I don't know, just ride the defense. You got to just pack it in again. And then, I don't know, you take your chances on offense, because I think we did a good job of also mixing and matching on offense. I mean, I thought there were times where we would use the entire shot clock and we would shoot at the very last possible second. We would score, but there's also times where I feel like we kind of catch Maryland off guard and we would shoot maybe earlier in the shot clock. So I think those are keys tomorrow, to kind of mix and match on offense. And I would like for Loyola to try to get, I don't know, closer to the net. I think the shots from the outside, they can fall, but I don't think they're going to fall every game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some could fall, I don't know, more than others. You could have, I don't know, 5 or 6 goals from the outside in one game like we did. But I don't know, there's some games where it's going to be not falling for you. So I think we need to try to get closer, but I don't know. I like the ball movement on offense. I don't know. We got to clean up the ground balls and the face-off. We just talked about this too last week. So if they improve in those areas and they pretty much do everything they did otherwise, I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think it starts on defense, because like you were saying about those long shots, they're not always the shots that fall as frequently, and we're gonna have to find a way to work some closer shots. Unless there is always a chance, maybe we're just amazing on offense, but we're not expecting that. But one thing I do know is if you play defense every week, you're always gonna have a good chance. So I think that should be where our priorities fall. And especially last year too, we had a little bit of a different goalie situation than we do now. um, we were mixing some guys in and out, but it feels like this year, at least from what I've seen on the first game, we have a goalie, and that's nice.
Yeah, Luke's stat was awesome. I think he ended up with 19 saves in that game
And
last
he was
week.
Patriot League the goalie of the week.
Yeah, he got some recognition, which
Yeah.
was definitely very well deserved.
Yeah, a couple Hounds got recognition, deservingly so, for their performances.
Yeah, and then you look on the other side with Johns Hopkins, they've played 3 games and they started out this season. They kind of shocked the world. They went down to Jacksonville with a nice upset win. They came back and they beat Georgetown right here in Baltimore. That was a pretty massive upset in the lacrosse world. And then they lost on Tuesday night at home to North Carolina. So they're definitely going to come into this game fired up, coming off a loss. And I think they need to prove that, I don't know, they're back because they've been kind of, I don't know, flying under the radar last few years. Haven't really been as good as the programs usually have been. So yeah, I think they're to come in ready. So we got to be ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a huge game. A team bouncing back off a loss is a perfect opportunity for the Blue Jays, and we're gonna have to be ready for it. It also hurts us. I think that they've played more games than us because just more experience in general just always helps, and you can run more offensive sets. You can, try some different things. You could work some guys in different spots or put some new guys in. Just change your team and find what works. Whereas we just only played one game, and we're probably gonna go out there with the same kind of approach that we had. And I don't know, just the way I look at it is when you play more games, you have a little bit better idea of what your flaws are so you can improve. That's just one thing that nerves me for the game.
Yeah, I think it's nice that Loyola gets a week off, but I also agree that playing more games definitely helps because you get more reps, especially with lacrosse, because you have a new team every year and you have guys who stay just because of their years, but you have new guys you're trying to implement every season. So I think getting as many games in as possible and getting those reps in, I mean, you can't replace that. So the other thing too, and we talked about the defense for Loyola. I mean, they're the backbone, I think, of this team. And I know it's only one game, so it's a very small sample size, but I think clearly the defense is going to be the major strength of this team. I'm looking at Johns Hopkins, and last week they only scored 7 goals, and 6 of the 7 goals were in the first half. And so UNC found a way to stifle the Johns Hopkins offense. So I would look for Loyola to try to do the same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that has to be kind of the approach, right?
Definitely. And then, yeah, the women, they have a game tomorrow at 3, right after the men at Ridley. And they're coming off a good year, Jimmy. They went to the quarterfinals of the NCAA women's lacrosse tournament last year before falling to Boston College. And they were ranked, I think, as high as number 5. And I think preseason, I forget, I think they might be 12 or 13. I have to check it. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah, so obviously the main concern from us would be for the women's team would be hopefully getting past that quarterfinal. I feel like that we always just kind of find ourselves in that round, and then unfortunately just the playoff losses are ultimately what brings us down at the end of the year. But hopefully another strong season from them. They've been playing really good the last couple of years. Boston College was a good team, so it's not like they lost, but you want to, well, they did lose. It's not like they lost to a team that was undeserving.
And they were in the game the whole way.
Yeah. And they had some tough breaks as well in that game. But looking back on it, the regular season success has definitely been there for them. And I hope they have another strong Patriot League season. I would assume that they're probably front runners for the Patriot League for the women's lacrosse again, especially just the way that they've ran through that conference, at least since we've been here.
Yeah, and you say that they should be the favorite. They definitely are the favorite. I'm looking at the top 25 rankings here, and I was wrong about them being 12 or 13. They're number 9 right now. You know what? They might have been 12 or 13, but the season has started and they haven't played a game. So there has been some movement in the poll, but there's not a single team besides Loyola in the Patriot League that's in the top 25 for the women's poll. So,
yeah.
I mean, they're probably the clear-cut favorite. And like you said, I think the goal is to try to get past the quarterfinal round. And Pretty much, they have the same team coming back from last year. Besides, I think Livy Rosenzweig,
Yeah.
who was the best player. She
Yeah,
was
that's a tough
the
one.
goal scorer. I mean,
That was really tough loss.
the women's team has a host of ladies that can score, but she was the one that kind of carried most of the load. But
And if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, didn't she set a record?
I believe so.
Yeah, she set some sort of record for Loyola. Was it goals? Was it points? It might have been points. Right?
Might have been
Because
points.
between assists and goals.
She did have a lot of
Yeah,
points
she had
last
a
season.
lot of points, and she was a force on offense. And we'll definitely be hurting without her, but we'll look for someone new to step up. Obviously, we're a well thought of team, so I have complete confidence in our team that somebody will step up. That's just the way it is. That's the way sports is. Next man up, somebody's got to do it, right? And
Yeah.
hopefully, for our sake, somebody does.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see how this weekend goes. Hopefully, the Greyhounds can get some huge victories over the Blue Jays. So we'll
Yeah.
definitely be keeping our eyes out for
The
that.
Battle of Charles Street this weekend at Ridley.
Yeah.
Lacrosse, men's and women's. Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
it's
gonna
all
be
you can
great.
ask for as a Loyola
It's gonna be
student.
an awesome day tomorrow.
Yeah, one of the best days of the year, I think, as a Loyola student. Another big thing going on this weekend is the NBA All-Star Game, Jeff.
Yes, and the All-Star weekend kicks off tonight. There's a ton of events. I mean, you go from the celebrity game to
Oh,
the
yeah.
Rising Stars.
DK Metcalf's playing. Did you see that?
Yes, I
he
did
was
see that.
by far the guy I was most excited to see play. Just because I have to say I'm expecting at least 2 or 3 dunks from DK Metcalf. Is that wrong?
I think that's perfectly
I was gonna
reasonable.
say, like, I am expecting some dunks from DK Metcalf.
Yeah, he can fly.
Exactly. He's monstrous. He's like what, 6'3", 6'4", and he's a tank.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he will do some kind of flashy highlights. Plus, you know what's always funny? Watching football players play basketball.
Oh, it's
That
great.
is one of the funniest things to do, just because it's obviously way more using your hands, like, and they just don't always have that like coordination to bounce the ball, and it's just sometimes very funny to watch.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good laugh. But the celebrity game in general is just kind of always funny to me.
Yeah, there have been some NFL players who have played in this game before. And the thing for me, and I'm looking at the list of the celebrities that are playing tonight, sometimes these celebrities, at least to me, are
They're
not
like
as
D-list celebrities.
they're not as well
I was
known.
gonna say, read the
I think
list
to the
here.
general public.
I want to even hear who I even
Yeah.
know. 'Cause
Well,
some of
so
these people-
I'll back up a little bit. So the NBA All-Star Weekend this year, it's taking place in Salt Lake City, Utah. So the Utah Jazz are hosting this year. And so the two teams, their captains are Ryan Smith, who's the Utah Jazz owner, and Dwayne Wade, who is a minority owner of the Jazz. And then Team Ryan Smith's team includes Kane Brown, who's a 5-time American Music Award winner, Corday, who's a rapper, Diamond DeShields, a WNBA player, Calvin Johnson. So there's another
Calvin Johnson's playing too.
NFL player.
I want to see some dunks from Calvin Johnson. And correct me if I'm wrong, this has got to be one of the first public appearances for Calvin Johnson in a while, like big
It's
one.
got to be. I haven't
was
heard
gonna
his
say,
name in a long time.
I know he went to like 1 or 2 Lions things, but he like stopped talking to the owner because they forced him to give back some money that he was going to be guaranteed in his contract because he retired, and he hasn't really made that many public appearances. But yeah, I didn't know that Calvin Johnson was playing too. That's exciting.
Yeah, and then Marcos Mayan, a TV host, The Miz, a WWE superstar, Albert Pujols, former
right.
MLB player,
Albert Pujols.
Everett Osborne, who's an actor, Ozuna, a rapper. There's a funny one, Guillermo Rodriguez from Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Oh, Guillermo's gonna play.
Yeah, he's going to be an action. And then Sanqua Walls, excuse me,
Do you
he's
think-
an actor.
Do you think there's any chance that they like somehow lift Guillermo up for a dunk?
You know, it's possible.
Or they bring out a tramp like Guillermo's got to have some sort of like star.
I think Calvin Johnson or DK
Yeah, I was gonna
Metcalf
say,
could help with that.
DK Metcalf and Calvin Johnson. We're looking at you for a Guillermo dunk here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be really funny.
Together, they got to be able to.
He's a
lift him
great
up.
personality,
Yeah, he is.
Guillermo.
Yeah,
I've
he's-
seen him do the NBA final skits where he goes to the media day and
Yeah.
interviews the players. He's so funny.
And last year he was there and met former After the Whistle host Stephen Joyce.
Yeah, shout out
Yeah,
Stephen
shout out
Joyce.
Stephen
There you
Joyce.
go. It's a
But
nice little
It's
connection
not
there.
just the celebrity game. There's also a lot of other stuff too. I know we have the dunk contest, the 3-point contest, and the what is it, the skills challenge.
Yes, and
on
so
Saturday.
all that's tomorrow night. And I think Saturday night is by far the
And
best.
there's also
night of the weekend.
another NBA event tonight.
The Rising Stars.
The Rising Stars Challenge, which correct me if I'm wrong, but did they not make like 3 teams this year or something.
I think they made 4 teams
teams.
and they're doing shorter games. I think you played a 25 or 40 in the one game, and then the next game you played a 40. It's not timed.
Yeah,
You play to a target score. And they
Yeah.
changed that in the All-Star game a few years ago, where in the fourth quarter, I think you take the difference of the two scores. So if one team's winning by 20, I think you like add 20 to the team who's winning, and then that's the score you play to, and whoever wins.
all right. Well, that.
But that's what they're kind of doing for tonight.
guess that
you
makes
play to a
sense.
score, and it's basically pickup basketball. It's kind of fun.
That makes sense, but here's the thing I just want to say about all these games this weekend. Well, the All-Star game, as we know, is a little bit of a bore fest.
Definitely.
Saturday night absolutely is the best night. The 3-point, the dunk contest is fun, and we'll get into those late in a little bit. Who's in those, because there's actually a lot of really exciting players, particularly in the 3-point contest. The
Oh,
3-point
yeah.
contest is
It's loaded.
Loaded.
Jinx.
Yeah, it is a great group actually this year. Like there's some star players. Tatum's in it. Lillard's in it. Julius Randle is in it. There's other all-stars in it too. Halliburton. But hey, that's only 4 of the guys. So there's a lot of others too. I know Kevin Herter's in there as well, but should be really interesting. But as for the dunk contest, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but did you see who the 4 guys are?
I did.
So we got Jericho Sims. We got Murphy,
Trey Murphy.
and then we got who else do we have in the
Yeah, so Jericho Sims, he's from the New York
he's from the
Knicks.
Knicks. That's why
Trey Murphy the third, he's from the Pelicans. We also have KJ Martin Jr., who is Kenyon Martin Jr.'s
well.
son. Yeah, Kenyon Martin's son, KJ Martin. He's from the Rockets. And then we have Mac McClung, who is from the Sixers. Those are the 4.
I was forgetting Mac McClung. I remember Mac McClung in high school having sick dunks. He was awesome when he was in high school, and he obviously went to Georgetown. It didn't really work out too well.
But you're right. He definitely went viral in high school for
Yeah,
his
and
dunks.
then he went to Texas Tech after that, right?
He did.
Yeah, and now he's in the NBA. I'm pretty sure he's a 2-way player for the Sixers. So
Yes.
yeah, that's interesting that he is. Did he get just promoted for this?
So it's funny.
'Cause he was a G Leaguer a couple weeks
When
ago.
they announced the slate for this dunk contest, he was in the G League at the time, but the Sixers just signed him a few days ago. So I guess now technically he is an NBA player.
Yeah, no, he's a 2-way player. Counts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's gonna be interesting. If I'm giving a pick, I heard Trey Murphy can really fly. I'm gonna go with him.
I'm gonna go with Mac McClung just because I'm rooting for the guy that I saw in high school who was a dunk.
I would like to see him win too.
I'm sorry, who had awesome dunks. That's what I want to say. But yeah, in general, and I'm excited for the Knicks.
Yeah, too. Jericho Sims can dunk too.
Jericho Sims can jump. He is really athletic. I remember that was the whole thing when we drafted him. It was like he has awesome athletic ability, and against a big man, that's just awesome to have, especially because he's not really that big of a scorer for us. He just is a little bit more defensive focused. But yeah, he has some sick dunks. I mean, there was one earlier this season. It went a little bit viral on the web, but his head was fully above the rim of the basket. It was a very high jump. So I don't know. I'm very excited to see. And you know what? He is the only big man, I'm pretty sure.
I think KJ Martin is a power forward.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
Okay, he's the only center then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've seen centers in the dunk contests the last few years just because they like to add him in. And I don't know, they've done pretty well.
He's pretty athletic.
And I'll use one example just because he's a big man. He's a power forward, but he's on the Nuggets now. Aaron Gordon. I mean, he's the poster child for this event the last few years.
Honestly, Jericho Sims reminds me a lot of Aaron Gordon in terms of their athletic ability.
Hey, if
he's not nearly the offensive player, but definitely like with how high he can jump. Like I really think that he is actually.
If he could resemble anything to Aaron Gordon, sign me up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm getting excited about him because he's a Knicks player. But I also Mac McClung made a couple of comments about his process for the see how I use process. And
very well played.
Contest. And what he was saying is that he has dunks that have never been done before.
Ooh,
so that's intriguing.
That is very intriguing.
Yeah, so that's probably the part that I'm most.
I think the other thing with the dunk contest is sometimes I don't know, it loses its luster a little bit because it'll take these guys 3 or 4 or 5 tries to make the dunk, and they'll eventually make it.
I think you should get 2.
I don't know. We just get a little impatient, I think, as viewers.
Yeah.
Because we want to see it happen on the first try.
Yeah, if you don't do it by the second try, I think it definitely loses its luster. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And we all want the guys to make the dunk. I mean, we all want them to do well because we're all here for the entertainment.
Did you by chance see who the judges were for the dunk
I
contest?
did. I know Carl Malone is
Yeah.
one,
Oof, what
which I
the-
totally understand because Utah,
Yeah,
former
but,
Jazz
like,
man.
maybe don't put Carl Malone out there. I feel like he's not the best person to put out there publicly. I don't know.
I'm gonna look up the others real quick.
I mean, Carl Malone's been out of it for a while now, out of the league. He's been pretty out of the public picture. Not the best guy in the
Do you know what's
world.
funny?
Not
I
the
look
best
up
guy.
I look up NBA dunk contest judges on Google, and the fourth article that comes up is fans are furious over Carl Malone
Well,
being named a
know-
judge.
You know why?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a great story. I mean, you can go look it up on the internet, but like, I don't know. I wouldn't have made him a judge. Let me be honest with you. I don't know. It's just probably not the best decision. It's not
So-
the best PR move. You're the NBA.
I
that's
agree.
for sure.
The other judges that will be joining Karl Malone are Dominique Wilkins, Lisa Leslie, Jamal Crawford, and Harold Miner.
Six man of the year, Jamal Crawford.
Yeah.
Mr. Six Man.
Dominique Wilkins is obviously an icon, and Lisa Leslie is a WNBA icon, and Harold Miner is famous as well. I wanted to back up real quick and go a little sidetrack before we get into the 3-point contest and maybe even the skills challenge or the All-Star game itself. But the other team in the celebrity contest, so Team Dwayne Wade, they're calling him Team Dwayne. They have some more celebrities I think that would be known. So Dwayne Wade's the captain, but DK Metcalf, like you said, he's on this team. We also have Arike Agumawale, who is a former star at Notre Dame. She's a WNBA player. Then we have 21 Savage, the rapper. I'm sure he's very well known. He will be in this game. We have Francis Tiafoe, who is a star tennis player. And then we have the MVP from last year's game, Peloton instructor, Alex Toussaint.
Yeah, this is an interesting group of celebrities for sure. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really that interested to see some celebrities play basketball. Like I really don't
Yeah.
care much about 21 Savage playing basketball. But I have to tell you, the thought of DK Metcalf doing anything is just exciting, as well as Megatron.
I would love to see them guard each other. I mean, they
just
got to
give-
guard each
just
other.
give me like 2 minutes of them going hard against each other and nobody else doing anything. That would be so fun.
Yeah.
But they probably won't do that. They'll probably just take it easy.
Well, that reminds me, actually, I remember when Deion Waiters and Kyrie Irving in the Rising Stars game were kind of going at it. I would love to see that with DK Metcalf and
Deion
Calvin
Waiters
Johnson.
and Kyrie Irving. I wonder whose career worked out a lot better. Deion Waiters still had a pretty good career.
he did.
All right, so the other stuff at the All-Star game. Let's talk about the skills challenge and the 3-point challenge now.
Sure. So the skills challenge, I think, is the first event of the Saturday night. So it's 3 teams this year. We have Team Antetokounmpo running it back for another year. We have Giannis, Thanasis, and Alex Antetokounmpo all on the same team. We have Team Jazz, a Utah Jazz team. We have Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, and Walker Kessler. Very intriguing team there. And then
Yeah.
we have a team of 3 rookies, Paolo Banchero, Jaden Ivey, and Jabari Smith Jr. So
I'll take
who do you like?
the third team.
The
I'll
rookies?
take the rookies.
Okay. I like the Jazz team just because
Yeah.
I think
I didn't
Colin
like the
Sexton.
Giannis team. That's the one team I wasn't going for, even though I love the Greek Freak.
Yeah, and Giannis, obviously, he's so long. He can get down the court.
No disrespect
3-4 dribbles.
to Alex, but I don't know if he's Giannis.
Yeah, and Thanasis is not Giannis either.
Yeah,
I know
but-
he's in the league, but he's no Giannis, obviously. I just like Team Jazz. I think Colin Sexton, he's one of the fastest guy in the league. He's going to get down the
Him and
court in
Jordan
no
Clarkson
time.
are very
Jordan
good.
Clarkson can make shots, and he's pretty quick. And then Walker Kessler is a long, big man. He can probably get down the court in a few dribbles.
Yeah,
I'll go with Team Jazz.
The only thing is that middle team or that end team, Team Rookie, does not really have any big guys. I mean, I guess you could say Paolo Banchero is bigger, but
Yeah, Jabari Smith is a bigger guy, but he's also, I think, a small
yeah,
forward.
they're both kind of had
Slash
like
power
those
forward.
tweeners. Like where
Yeah,
they-
Jaden Ivey's the only true guard.
Yeah, but they are tweeners, so I just feel like they fit a little bit more for the all-around play. But honestly, it's kind of random because it's like throwing a ball into a pass, dribbling, and then making a shot.
Yeah, you go through the cones or whatever it is, you throw the pass in the hoop. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all random anyway. Anything else to add about All-Star Weekend?
Well, so I wanted to talk about the 3-point contest. Do you
Oh,
want to
yes,
talk about it?
Of course.
So, like you said earlier, Jimmy, we have a pretty loaded slate here of participants in the 3-point contest. I'll just go down the list now. We have Tyrese Halliburton from the Pacers having a great year as their point guard. We have Tyler Hero from the Heat. We have Buddy Hield from the Pacers. So the Pacers backcourt showing out in this 3-point contest. We have Kevin Huerter from the Kings, Damian Lillard, the superstar point guard from the Trailblazers. We have Lauri Markkanen, who will be representing the Jazz. We have Jason Tatum from the Celtics, obviously a stud. And then we have Julius Randle, who is from the Knicks, and he is replacing Trailblazers guard Anthony Simons, who is out due to injury. So, yeah, you're looking here, Jimmy. There's a lot of interesting names here. I think there is an argument that you could probably make for any of these people to win the 3-point contest. But who do you like? Who's your pick?
I'll take Jason Tatum.
Okay.
I'll take Jason Tatum. I think he's a pretty clutch guy. Like the moment doesn't really seem too big for him ever. And I saw that he was like 5-1. He wasn't even like favored. I'll take one of the best players in the league at 5-1. I'll also say though, Damian Lillard was around the same price. I think he has a very good chance as well. One of those two would be my pick.
An interesting thing about this too is all of the balls are on a rack. So you're going around the court and you're just grabbing the ball and shooting, grabbing the ball and shooting. So I don't know. I think a lot of strategy into this is you pick someone that's, I don't know, a good catch and shoot person, not really off the dribble. So I do think Tatum, though, a lot of his threes made are off the dribble, but I do think he's pretty good at catching and shooting. So I think he's a good pick. I don't know. I'm going with a sleeper. I like Tyler Hero.
Nice. Yeah, I can see Tyler Hero getting that done. And obviously, he's a pretty good 3-point.
I think he's very streaky, but I think if he can get going, he can get hot. And I also like Markkanen. I think he's another guy who can creep up there.
Yeah, I forgot about Lauri Markkanen. I know that he's in that as well. He's definitely one of the only bigger guys that's in it, right?
Yeah, I think he and Julius Randle
Julius
are the only two big men.
Yeah, I am not picking Julius Randle. I'm not nearly as excited to see what he does. In fact, I would not be surprised if he just breaks them off. I mean, we've seen what he does in the playoffs. So when everybody's watching, it doesn't always go too well for Julius. But that's neither here nor there, and I'm excited for a good NBA All-Star weekend. It's nice to see some Knicks involved. Obviously, some Sixers are involved as well.
Yeah.
Just pray that nobody gets injured. That's all I can really say, which I don't think should happen. But
the other thing too, I'll mention just before we close this segment is they're doing the NBA All-Star draft a few hours, or it might be 30 minutes before the game starts.
And they're doing the reserves first.
Yeah.
They don't want to hurt people's feelings.
It's unbelievable.
Give me a break. These are grown men. Let them pick in front of
It's so soft.
Everybody has played pickup basketball the exact same way from the time that they have grown up. And the NBA just decided, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So they're not going to let people pick on the court.
Yeah, they don't want a last pick to happen.
Yeah, they don't want there to be a last pick.
Unbelievable.
Why? Remember a couple of years ago when they did the draft in private and Shaq and Charles Barkley were going off about how Al Horford was definitely the last pick? Because they were pretty pissed that he was an all-star. And I remember they're like, Horford was definitely the last pick. It had to be Horford. They mention it every single chance.
Unbelievable.
I think it's literally just become a meme of like who the worst all-star is. And I don't know. I think the NBA just doesn't want that. But I still think it would be funny. I think it would be entertaining. Again, it kind of has that human element that we don't really get from the players a lot, especially because I feel like there's such like a disconnect sometimes between the athletes and the fans, where this is like one of the more normal things. I don't know. I think it would be fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, just the NBA just being losers, right? I mean,
there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, it's just they're getting mad about the most ridiculous stuff. All right, should we move into some football news?
Yeah, we have some football news that we have to touch on.
So we'll start with the easier, quicker one, the less controversial one. Aaron Jones gets a new deal. He'll be back in Green Bay next year, and he's getting $11 million. That's a big number for a running back.
It is. 1 year.
I would imagine Saquon gets around 12 or 13, but after seeing Jones get 11, Saquon may ask for some more. But there's a lot of running backs who are free agents, so I would imagine this affects that market going forward. But the Packers had A.J. Dillon, who they drafted a couple of years ago, but it maybe seems like they don't really think he's that great of a 3-down back, and that's kind of why they're bringing back Aaron Jones.
I guess so.
But I feel like this conversation, we have to put an asterisk next to it because we don't know who's going to play quarterback next year for the Green Bay Packers.
Right, and it's a shame because this is supposed to be on Aaron Jones getting a new deal and coming back to Green Bay, but all this doesn't really, matter.
All leads back to one man, Aaron Rodgers. And obviously he's doing his 4-day hideout in the middle of a dark room, whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
And At the same time, you have to wonder where his head's at. But this feels like to me a move that you want to solidify the offense around Jordan Love.
Yeah, I guess so. You got to
But
get
you
help.
could also make that same argument for Aaron Rodgers
Right.
that you want to solidify the offense for him so that he comes back. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know how you feel about this, but does it seem like the Packers are a little sick of Aaron Rodgers and stuff? Like just a
Yeah,
little bit. Like I feel like there's like a little bit of a disconnect. Like I listen, I don't think they go into next year doing this. I think this is the last year for sure.
yeah. I don't think they want to deal with this Rodgers offseason drama anymore. It's been every year for the last 2, 3 years.
Yeah. And also it's really not fair to Jordan Love because he's going through this process as a young quarterback. And like he was a first round pick. And he showed some okay flashes when he did get in this year. Ultimately, if I were the Packers, I would probably turn it over to Jordan Love and look to start a new kind of leaf in my franchise because I do think Jordan Love can be successful. And I do think that they have some decent pieces around him, particularly in the backfield. But God, they got to get some receivers. Like
I know.
they really got to get receivers.
See, even if Rodgers is not in the Packers next year, I think it's a decent move to bring Jones back. I think he's had 1,000-yard seasons. I think 3 of the last 4 years. He's a proven guy.
No, he does a pretty decent amount for the work
He's
that
also
he gets. And his
a threat in the
his-
receiving
yes,
game too.
That's where his advantage is. He's probably way better in the receiving game than a lot of other running backs.
Yeah.
He's certainly better than AJ Dillon there, that's for sure. The only concern that I have for them is just that like this is a big move to make 11 million that you're already taking away from the cap. I don't know. That feels like a lot of money for a running back, and it just feels like a move that you wouldn't bring back Aaron Rodgers just because you're not making that move to spend 11 million. Because think about it, Aaron Rodgers is getting 60 with his contract. He's getting a lot of money. So there's so much money that's already tied up there that I don't know. I can't see them making this move, paying a running back and also paying their quarterback that much. Because remember, Jordan Love would be on that rookie deal, and he's an end of the first round kind of guy. So he's sitting around maybe like 3 million.
Hey, you could ride that
That's
out.
Such a smaller contract, and it's just you don't usually pay quarterbacks and pay running backs. You just traditionally don't pay running backs in general. But hey, if you're going to have a younger quarterback, kind of makes some sense.
Right.
So this to me looks like a Jordan Love. Like that's the path they're going down.
Yeah,
if I had to decide.
If they don't have Rodgers on the roster, I mean, obviously that frees up so much
But
money.
do you think it's a Rodgers retirement, or do you think it's a Rodgers goes somewhere else? I'm gonna be honest. I really can't see him playing for another team. Like I think
Really?
because here's the two teams that get thrown out there most frequently, right? It's Jets. I don't know if he'll want to play for the Jets. Like that's just the truth. They're the Jets. Like they're not one of the best organizations in the NFL. Like Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if he wants to put himself in New York as well. Because let's pay attention, or let's look at this. Aaron Rodgers is always fighting with the media, it seems like, right? So I don't know if he's going to want to go to New York. But then the Raiders, at the same time, like his boy Devontae Adams is there.
There's some connection there.
There's some connection, but it's an awful offensive line. It's really not a good defense outside of like Max Crosby.
It's weird because
it's not like a great.
The Jets are probably a better football move.
Yeah, the Jets are a better football
but it's
move.
tricky.
But I don't know. Does he want to be with McDaniels? Like, there's so many questions there. I don't know. To me, it feels like retirement because he just did not look good this year. I just did not see the same Aaron Rodgers.
They've tried it so many years with Rodgers and Adams and Jones and that core, and they've gotten close to making the Super Bowl, but they've never done it.
Yeah, I think it's done for Aaron. I really do.
Unless there's some mystery third team that somehow emerges.
Let's think about who else could need a quarterback.
Like I'm going to say this again, and I don't think anyone's talked about this team, but Tampa Bay.
Okay, I had a different team in mind. The Titans.
Okay.
They had a lot of guys on IR last year, particularly on their defense and their O-line. Derrick Henry was hurt.
Right.
They had Ryan Tannehill, Josh Dobbs, Malik Willis at the quarterback. Doesn't matter. All three of them stink. If they improve, they'd be so much better.
No, 100%. I think the Titans are a team that could definitely use a QB that's proven because they tried 3 of them last year and they didn't really work. They were 7-3 at one point, but Tannehill, but he just wasn't good.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break after this because we're going to talk some Loyola basketball. Jeff, anything else that you want to add about the Green Bay Packers and this Aaron Jones.
No, I think it's a good move for the Packers, but you're right. This all goes back to whether Rodgers is going to stay or not.
Yeah, that's ultimately where this conversation ends up. All right, so we'll be right back. We have Jack McCormick, Mr. SGA, coming on in just a minute. He'll be here to talk some Loyola basketball. We'll be back after the break. It's calling me the whole time. I told.
Welcome back to WLOI, Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOI.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. You're listening to After the Whistle with Jeffrey Bazzi and Jimmy Cody. And now we're going to welcome in a very special guest here. We have Jack McCormick joining us. We're going to talk some Loyola basketball, lacrosse, and some other stuff. Jack, thank you so much for joining us here in the studio.
It is a pleasure. I'm glad to be back here. It's been a little while since we last talked Loyola basketball, so I'm excited to get after it today.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's going to be
sir.
fun.
Yes,
And
sir.
Jack, you're actually our first in-studio guest in a very long time. I actually think this is the first one we've had post-COVID, so definitely a very honorable guest today. So thank you for joining us in the studio. It's a pleasure.
And I already like this. Like, I like it so much more having.
It just
somebody-
feels more
Yeah,
personable.
it does. It feels so much better. I'm already having like a more fun time. Like, honestly, I really am.
I know we haven't even really
haven't
talked
even
about
talked
anything yet.
All right, let's not waste any more time because
Let's get into it.
we took a long break. Jack, there's a Loyola basketball game tomorrow. Obviously, I know nobody on this campus loves Loyola basketball more than you. You go there in your outfits.
Yeah, I got my green morph suit that I've been rocking this season. I wear in my Loyola jersey too. So
Yeah, so obviously you're there, you're chanting louder than anybody. You got your you certainly have your attention cut out for you from the crowd. Everybody certainly notices you. I'm sure the players notice as well. And it's very entertaining, but I gotta ask, where does this passion come from? Like, just out of curiosity.
I think I love basketball. I think that's as simple as it is, but to be able to take pride in my own team is something that's really important to me. I think part of it too is that next year I'm serving as a grad assistant for the men's team when I'm here doing my master's. So that'll be really exciting. I think that's more incentive
Yeah,
for me to get involved.
That's like breaking after the whistle news, I guess.
Yeah,
That'll be
that's
official.
awesome. Congrats on that.
scoop.
That's great.
So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I didn't even know that. Are you looking forward to it?
I am. I have some ideas. I mean, nothing's set in stone. I haven't really talked to Hardy yet, but just have some ideas.
Do you have
about-
some plays you're gonna give them?
No, nothing about offense or defense or on the court. It's mostly off the court stuff. In my role in student government, I've been able to foster and create environments for people to get to know each other. And I think, things I've learned in student government and be able to apply to my role on being a graduate assistant.
I think I know the direction actually that you're taking this conversation, and I actually do want to keep going down this path. Are you talking about more involvement between like students and then like athletics? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah, because like at the big schools, like my cousin went to Nebraska, and the football coach would just walk around. That's like a thing at these big schools. Like people just go up and shake the football coach's hand. Like they get to know them. Like it's just like it comes with the job. It's just something that you do. Like you just become a part of the school. And honestly, like I feel like at a smaller school, it would have an even bigger effect. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like it would get a lot more people to come to the games. I mean, Jack, the attendance numbers are on there. We don't even get 1,000 people a game. So that's a tough look. Obviously, the team's underperforming, but I definitely think some more collaboration put in some right places can certainly create a good environment because Ridley on Saturday was absolutely popping.
Crazy.
It was a great time.
Over 50% packed.
Yeah.
And like that's
And that was for a game that people thought we were going to get blown out.
Yeah.
Like imagine what it's gonna be like this week.
Tomorrow is gonna be
tomorrow is
unbelievable.
going to be insane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's gonna be awesome tomorrow. And I like think it is actually going to be one of the best days like Loyola school has had, especially if we
Yeah,
win.
especially after the Maryland win too.
If we win, it will be awesome. If we lose, obviously we'll be okay, we had a good time, but unfortunately we lost. I don't really want to lose. I kind of want to win. Because I want championships. That's really what I care about.
Yeah.
But just in general, I think we see the potential that we can have.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the basketball itself, though. Hasn't been a great season, has not been ideal. Obviously, one of the things that we have talked about, and Jack, the last time you came on the show was a problem then, and it's still a problem now. it's just these cold streaks that we go on offense, and it just feels like every single time, once it starts, with the team can just never find a way out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember sophomore year when I was on the show, we were talking about how they were just going on the run at the right time. And it kind of feels similar now a little bit. There's something that stand out to me. So like I think after I mean they got pretty handily beat by Lafayette, but
Yeah.
beat Bucknell at home. Then they lost to Colgate. They were 17.5 underdogs.
Yeah, no, they
And
had,
they covered. They only lost by 13. So like
that's
that's not
still not a great, that's
Yeah,
still not
but
great though, but
Colgate's the
that's,
number one team in the conference.
no, that's a game.
They
you-
beat Syracuse earlier this
It's a
season.
game you expect to lose, but 13, you'd ideally like to be under 10. right?
Yeah, but they lost yeah. But then BU, that was a tight game at home. I mean, it probably should have been a win, but
Oh, Jack, not probably. Absolutely, it should have been a win. We came out of the second half and it looked like, I don't know, we didn't want to be there. We just had no interest in what was going on. The other team was just running up and down the court. I just.
it was a
we were-
heartbreak at the end. That's what it was.
Well, it was a heartbreak at the end, but we had a double-digit lead at halftime. So it was actually heartbreak just the entire second half. It wasn't even just the end because it felt like quicksand where we just slowly let the lead get away. I mean, Jeffrey, you were sitting right next to me. You know exactly better than anybody. We're just like the energy is not there right now. Like,
Yeah,
gotta
the
change
energy
this.
was just sucked out of the building.
and
But now take a look. Last on 2-game win streak right now.
I will
that's
say,
true.
I was gonna say,
Lehigh on the road, that's the second best well not anymore, but
no, they're around us and they're
no. Lehigh is the third team in the conference right now.
I think they're 9-6.
Yeah, they're number 3 in the conference. And then Navy, who are going up against tomorrow, they moved into the number 2 spot. And then beat Lafayette at home. I mean, they were shorthanded. That's what I noticed. They only had 9 guys on the bench. It's like, what is going on? But I mean, like Tyson Commander has been playing a lot better recently. He's been getting more progress. Dropped 17 points the other night.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was kind of
Sealed
his
the deal with the
breakout.
3-point.
game.
Like I don't know if you guys know this. He had a couple Power 5 offers coming out of high school. He
Really?
was
Wow.
very highly recruited by I mean, it was crazy. Xavier, Buffalo. I mean, I kind of forget some of the
Those
other
are
stuff.
higher than us, obviously.
Yeah, and I think it was a very last second. Like he didn't train with the team over the summer, and then he came here. But it's nice to finally see him getting his footing. And you never know what happens during the tournament time. But genuinely, I think that this team can make a run in the tournament. It's about
The
believing.
Patriot League tournament?
Yes, they gotta have heart. They gotta battle and not give up. They know what they're capable of. They just have to go out and execute it. Running the good person offense, playing tight defense, and not giving up these close games and going on runs. We've seen it over and over, but that's the
Absolutely.
key, man.
I'm
That's the key.
encouraged though. I think recently, I know that the 5-10 record in the conference is not great, but you're looking here. I mean, we talked about it. The BU game, we definitely should have won that. We can make the same argument, I think, for the game when we went up to Army. We were up
Yeah.
the most of that game. And I think
We lost that
Army
by two.
had 2 and 1s in the last minute or two, and they kind of pulled away there. We had a nice win at Lehigh, though. We brought that up. I thought
You know
every
what?
time
We had great offense. that game.
we gave up
That
a
was a close
basket, we
game,
would just
too.
answer back. I thought we did really good offense. We put up 91
Yeah,
points.
that's awesome.
And then they squeaked by Lafayette on Wednesday. But yeah, these next few games, Navy will be a tough test. And then you get Holy Cross and American, who are 2 teams
Big
kind of in the
games.
middle. They're winnable
Way to-
games, and they're both at home.
Think
So
about American.
yeah.
So this is what I love about Patriot League basketball.
Anybody can beat anybody.
American is the number 2 team in the or they were at the time when they beat Colgate. They won by 1 point. So Colgate's only lost of the season. You know who they lost to twice?
American.
Bucknell.
Oh, okay.
They lost to Bucknell. American lost to Bucknell twice. The worst team in the conference. The only team we had beat it twice in two times this season.
That's the Patriot League for you. That literally is the Patriot
Yeah.
League. Anybody can beat anybody. It is so crazy. Like that. That's ultimately like what makes college basketball, I think, so fun.
Yeah.
It's just that like the talent pool is very. It seems wide, but it really isn't. Like I feel like more so it's the athletic ability more so than the talent. But it's just like there's so many times where like the lesser team wins, and that's what makes it so great. I mean, it's just one game, anything can happen, right? That's
And
what
when
makes
this-
March Madness.
That's the fun
When-
part about
When
it.
this team is on their game, dude, they can play, man. They
And
gotta be on though,
Jack, I absolutely agree with you because time and time again, we've seen them put up a lot of points.
Yeah.
And it feels like to me, and we've said this on the show, Jeffrey, when they put up points, it seems like the defense is not there. But then it seems like when we're not making shots, then the defense is there. You know what I mean? And it almost feels like we're like when one thing's going bad, the other thing isn't. If we could just find a way to combine that and just if we could ideally play like how we played that first half against BU, if that team showed up in the first half and what showed up in the second half against Lehigh, if those teams showed up to play every game, Jack, I agree with you. The team could be very
Yeah.
successful. Like the parts are there. It's
Yeah.
just about being
We've
more
seen it in
consistent.
flashes. I feel like they can have a really good 10 or 20-minute stretch where everything's clicking. It's just the other half of the game, it's not clicking.
They're very, I don't want to say streaky team too, but they're a team that like once they get on a roll, that's when they start playing their
Yeah.
best. It's like they need a little confidence.
The other thing
strength,
too, I'll
a
bring
little
up
energy boost.
that
He
kind of
has
gets
been
these
good.
runs going.
Seen it. I mean, Greg
We
is an
have.
NBA player, but one thing I want to mention too, really quickly is, over break, I'm getting ready for like my boss and stuff. So listening to podcasts and all this stuff and seeing like where their mission and vision is at. And what I thought was really interesting is that this is fifth season. Yeah. In the first 4 years, the Loyola has had the leading scorer in the Patriot League.
Wow.
I think it was Kosteka the first 2 years, Santi, Cam, and now it's like, it's the Princeton offense. I think the beauty of it is it allows anyone to step into the moment and be able to thrive. We've seen Dion, we've seen Jalen, we've seen Kenny, we've seen Tyson last night. I mean, Alonzo, the list goes on. People can come in and they have Chris Kazemka. People have to come in and like it gives the opportunity for people to step in, and that's the thing. Like moving forward, there's not one go-to guy. You ride the hot wave, So like moving forward, someone's got to get hot and someone's got to catch fire, and we can win some games.
Jack, that's exactly what I've been
Counterpoint.
thinking.
I want to counterpoint you super quickly because I
Go ahead.
agree 100% with what you're saying. Where the Princeton offense is great for that. But one thing that I feel like our team settles for sometimes? We don't always take the best shot in that offense. And I think on that offense, ball movement is key.
Yeah.
We have some very good passers. Kenny led the Patriot League in the assist to turnover ratio last year. Had a great season. He has a little bit more.
That was Cam.
Okay.
Kenny led
them in assist.
Yeah.
Okay. And Cam led them in assist.
Yeah,
Turnover.
yeah.
All right. So he led them in assists, whatever. Point is, he's a good passer. That's the only point I'm trying to make here. As for like that offense, you got to find the best shot. And I feel like sometimes we just force some bad shots, like particularly in the second half of that BU game and kind of that Army game too. Just some bad shots. Just kind of, you let yourself just get away. And you can't settle, especially in college basketball. And especially the point that you're trying to make, where all 5 players are looked at as equals in the offense, because that's essentially what the Princeton offense is.
Yeah.
You want to give everybody a role, so that way they can't really favor anybody, and they got to treat everybody as they're defending them all as the same. But we just can't settle, and it's just about being more consistent. That's really the thing that we're finding from this team. If we could just bring it every game, it would be there.
Yeah.
So what are you looking for in the next few games? Obviously, there's a few games left. The whole thing that me and Jeffrey have been saying, I feel like, is consistency. And Jeffrey, I'll open this question up to you too. So what are you looking for?
Well, I think the thing that I've noticed recently is I feel like there's 1 or 2 guys every game offensively that have kind of been stepping up. And I think Dion Perry's kind of been the main guy. Because coming into the year, I thought Kenny and Jalen were the elder statesmen. They were kind of carry the load offensively. And I was wondering where the help would be, because this is the first team in a while, at least in the last few years, where I feel like there's not really a number one clear-cut scorer. So I thought Kenny and Jalen would be those 2 guys, and they have been. I think Jalen more so than Kenny this season, but I think Dion's kind of stepped into that other role, and I think
That's been great.
he's been really good. He can make a lot of shots on the outside, and then I'm looking at other guys too who can chip in. I think Chris Kazemka has been a really nice spark plug. He's kind of had a breakout, and I'm excited for the future too, because Kenny and Jalen will not be on the team next year just because they'll be graduated, but you're looking at Dion and Chris Kazemka in the future. You still have Golden. You still have
really
Alonzo and Illich twins. Yes.
It's really the effect that Dion has. It's like he's really good on
Pretty
offense,
quick.
but his defense is so tough to come by. If you're getting guarded by him for the night, you got your hands full.
And the thing is,
Like,
you talk
he
about
not back
when we
down.
go in stretches
No.
cold on offense, when we're ice cold, he's a guy that can break you out of it. He can get hot in any second.
Yeah, no, that's totally.
And I would say the same for Chris. I mean, lesser extent, but I feel like he can make a lot of open shots. You get him the ball, he can make threes.
He's a good defender too.
Yeah, he has more size too.
Oh my gosh, who was he locking up?
Recently,
Maybe it was last semester. I forget who it was, but he was just locked down. The guy, I mean, I think they ended up losing the game, and I think the guy made a game winning shot or something. But like, it was just like I mean, not much you can do. So, I forget who it was. But,
He's definitely a dog. He's got that dog.
yeah, for sure. Chris is he's probably what I would think one of the more consistent players on the team, for sure. So
Yeah, absolutely. So the game tomorrow, we got a big, we're going up against Navy. It's on the road. What are you thinking against that team? Because in years past, Navy's had these good records, but we've actually played pretty well against.
We've beaten them a few
We've beaten them a
times.
few
That's when
times.
that quarterfinal game was when we won with Santi. It was against Navy. They were the number one
We
team.
won down there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And we've had some success against them. One of the differences in Navy this year, and I don't know if you noticed this, Jack, but they're putting up a lot more points than they have in years past.
To be honest, I haven't been focusing on Navy that much. I know they're the second best team in the conference, and it's going to be a game that is going to be tough. My hope is that we can at least pull one win out of his next 3 games. But just really just putting in good games. You know, I think that's the key.
Improvement.
Going into the tournament, we just need to be, we don't need to win every game, but just playing good basketball and putting up a fight. That's what I want to see. Because going in, like, whatever the first game is, like, we're probably not going outside the top, into the top 6. I mean, maybe we will. I don't know. Some things would have to really work out. in
So
our
we
favor.
probably have to win 4 games.
We're gonna have to go on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're playing. Yeah, maybe one home game to start. But the other tough thing too is no one's gonna beat. But it doesn't really matter because no one's gonna be here because we're on spring break. So no one's gonna be here anyway. So,
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
we'll be playing during our spring break.
Right.
That's when the tournament will be. There's still so much that can change with the standings just because
Yeah.
it's so bunched up. So we really don't know who we're gonna play.
We're probably gonna have to win out, I think, to get a home game.
But
Maybe
just-
get some luck in
just
there
to
too.
give
You're
you
gonna have to
an
win
idea.
2 of the
Just to
3.
give you an idea,
we're 5-10. Holy Cross is 7-8. Someone else is 7-8.
You're gonna have to win at least 2 of the 3 and get help, unless you win all 3.
yeah. So we got Navy. That's obviously a big one for us. And then we have Holy Cross, and then we got American. Though I don't want to say that they're winnable games, but they're games that we should be competitive in.
Yeah.
That's something we all agree with.
Yes.
So I agree with that point totally, Jack. We're looking for consistency. We're looking for high quality basketball. We don't want to turn the ball over. We want to shoot efficiently. We want to make free throws. That's also really important as well. Just the little things, because I feel like if you can do the little things right, you can at least start to count on those when you get into those, high pressure games where you gotta remember when you're in that tournament, it's anything can happen in one game. The other team's feeling just as much pressure as we are.
100%. And then coming into this game, Navy's won 5 in a row, so they've been playing really well. But we did win the first meeting here at 69-67 back on January 14th.
Is Navy?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
that was-
Yeah, when Jalen made the buzzer
I was
beater.
gonna say Jalen hit a game winner.
Wow,
It's
yeah,
kind
that's
of
when-
an upset win.
Yeah, that
at
was,
the time.
That was when things were still kind of getting going, and we didn't really know how everything was going to shake out. It was like very early in the season, but
Right. Must have been, I don't know, the 3rd or 4th conference game we had.
If you really think about it though, I'm looking at our last 5 games here. You take the Colgate one out, and because that was just a very tough game, it was on the road as well. It's just a brutal travel game. Let's just go to the last
those
4
last 5 games are not bad games. We've lost by
No.
1 point or a couple of points, and
They're-
we lost it.
The last 4 games are all games that we've played pretty well in, and like I agree that we are starting to play a little bit better. Like I would not be surprised if we win this game tomorrow on the road. Like I really do think that we're playing better. Things are starting to look a little bit in the right direction. I think the Hounds can definitely, like I see a reason for optimism, Jack. I absolutely see
Yeah.
a reason for optimism.
Yeah.
All right, so closing thoughts here on the Hounds. Do you want to add anything about?
I'll just say this. I think Colgate's gonna be a tough matchup for anyone.
Yeah.
They're obviously the favorite right now. Every week, All Sports News, a sports account, they post like the March Madness thing. Colgate has been there every single week.
They
Colgate's
have.
the favorite. We're not denying that. I think if someone can knock Colgate, let's pray that American can play Colgate. Right, the only team to beat them. Maybe someone else gives them a fight, but they're the only team to date in the Patriot League to beat them. If someone can knock out Colgate, I think Loyola actually has a real chance of making the tournament.
Everybody has a real chance because then it becomes open season. Like you have to feel like you have a chance because the talent gap, you could argue the talent gap between Colgate and maybe like teams 2, 3, and 4 is like a little bit bigger than it is between teams 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? Like it might be a bigger gap. So you of course have to feel like you have a chance. Absolutely, Jack. I agree with that. If that can happen, I mean, that would be really good. But then we have to take care of our own business. And at the end of the day, we're gonna have to worry about ourselves before we worry about Colgate. We might have to win 4 games. So that's what we need to be focusing on. We need to
Yeah.
focus on the Loyola Greyhounds,
Yeah,
playing good basketball, doing the little things right.
yeah, very on that one.
Yeah, so do you want to give us any predictions for the weekend? Obviously, a lot of Loyola sporting events. Any other news that you want to talk about? Well, we have a few minutes.
Lacrosse win, taking down Hopkins, probably a close one, but the energy in that stadium is gonna be crazy.
And then the women's game?
Women's, yeah.
Win, yeah, win.
They're, I'm not worried about that. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, they're stepped up a bit.
Good to hear. Gonna be tough replacing Livy though.
Yeah, I mean, they got 2 Tewaaraton people in. I think one of them's hurt right now. But yeah, one of them's hurt, and then but they got 2 people like winning basically the Heisman for the cross. So.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, we've been saying that it was a talented team, obviously with the run they made last year. They had a great regular season, a lot of potential on that roster. So I think it's all safe to say we're all hoping the best for Loyola Athletics here. We all want to see the teams win. That's all what we want,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So on that note, go Hounds.
Go Hounds.
Go Hounds.
Can you give us a quick, you'll bring us the bark? Or what was it?
You bring us the bark.
The barky. There it is. All right, there it is. All right. I think
love
on
it.
that note, I think I'm ready to hang it up for the day, Jeff. Anything
Yeah,
you want to add?
I think we covered everything that we had to cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for listening. We will be back on Monday recapping hopefully some Loyola victories, and we'll be recapping some other stuff as well. So thank you as always for listening, and have a great weekend.